It was a rainy afternoon in the city, the kind of afternoon where the sky seemed to carry the weight of untold stories and the streets were full of people rushing with umbrellas, yet each looking lost in their own world. At a quiet corner of a coffee shop, a man in his early 40s sat alone by the window, staring into his untouched cup. His name was Daniel Hart, a man who had everything the world admires: wealth, success, and power. He was the CEO of a global investment firm, a millionaire whose name commanded respect in boardrooms. But behind those polished suits and the aura of control, Daniel carried a deep emptiness. 2 years ago, he had lost his wife to cancer, and the grief had carved a hollow in his chest that no deal, no mansion, no luxury car could fill. He came to this cafe often, not because he needed coffee, but because it gave him a place to hide from the world and remember the times he once sat with the love of his life in places just like this. On this particular day, as the rain tapped gently against the glass, Daniel was lost in thought when he felt a tug on his sleeve. He looked up, surprised, and saw a little girl, no older than 8, her hair tied in a loose ponytail, her skin pale, and her big brown eyes shining with a mixture of shyness and hope. She clutched a small worn-out teddy bear and whispered, "Sir, can I sit here?" The question startled him, not because of the words, but because of the voice. It carried a fragility that seemed to echo straight into his heart. For a moment, Daniel didn't answer. He simply stared at her, wondering where her parents were, wondering why a child would want to sit with a stranger. Before he could respond, the girl smiled faintly and added, "All the other seats are taken, and I don't like sitting alone." Something inside him softened. He gestured to the empty chair across from him and said gently, "Of course, you can sit here." She climbed onto the chair carefully, hugging her teddy tightly, and for a while, they both sat in silence. Daniel, a man who rarely allowed strangers into his private world, found himself oddly comforted by her presence. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Lily," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "And this is Mr. Buttons," she added, lifting her teddy bear slightly. Daniel smiled, the first genuine smile he had felt in months. "It's nice to meet you, Lily. And Mr. Buttons too." Lily giggled, though it quickly turned into a small cough that made Daniel's brows furrow with concern. She waved her hand as if to brush it off, but Daniel noticed how tired she looked, how fragile her small frame seemed. "Are you here with your parents?" he asked, scanning the cafe. Lily lowered her gaze, her tiny fingers playing with the ribbon around her teddy's neck. "Mom is at the hospital," she said quietly. "She's sick, very sick. And Dad, well, he went away a long time ago." Daniel's heart sank. He knew the pain of hospitals, of sickness, of losing the person you love. He recognized the loneliness in her voice because it mirrored his own. "I'm sorry to hear that," he said gently. Lily looked up at him, her eyes glistening but not with tears. There was a strange strength in them, the kind of strength children are forced to learn too early. "It's okay," she whispered. "Sometimes I just pretend Mr. Buttons and I are brave." Daniel swallowed hard, his chest tightening as if invisible strings were pulling at wounds he thought had healed. He didn't know why, but he felt compelled to protect this little girl, this stranger who had walked into his life out of nowhere. As they continued to talk, Daniel learned that Lily spent most of her time at the hospital with her mother, reading books aloud so her mom could hear her favorite stories, or drawing little pictures to tape on the walls. She loved painting sunsets, she said, because they reminded her that endings could still be beautiful. Daniel found himself listening with a level of attention he hadn't given anyone in years. There was something about her innocence, her quiet wisdom, that touched a part of him he thought had died with his wife. The rain outside grew heavier, and the cafe grew louder, but inside their small corner, it felt like time had slowed. Daniel ordered her a warm cup of hot chocolate, and when Lily wrapped her hands around it, her face lit up with gratitude, as though he had given her the world. He couldn't help but smile again, realizing how much joy could come from something so simple. Hours passed unnoticed, and when Lily finally stood to leave, she turned to him and said, "Thank you for letting me sit with you, mister. You don't look so lonely anymore." With that, she skipped away, clutching her teddy, leaving Daniel staring after her, stunned by the impact of her words. That night, as Daniel lay in his penthouse apartment surrounded by everything money could buy, he couldn't shake the image of Lily's fragile smile, her quiet bravery, and the way she had seen straight through him. For the first time in a long while, he felt something stirring inside him, hope. Little did he know, this chance meeting was not the end but the beginning of a story that would change both their lives forever. And dear listener, if you felt your heart pulled by Lily's courage and Daniel's loneliness, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because their journey is only beginning, and trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next.